Hello, my name is Rich Howard, owner of Architectural Builders Supply. This video is to bring you a closer look at the Stanley BB852. This is what is called an application B version of this, what is a triple weight hinge. This is a full surface massive hinge that's going to be used in, well, it's in their detention, in Stanley's detention hardware catalog. Here it is. This hinge weighs 4.9 pounds. And this video is going to serve as visual evidence of the item. We'll talk about, where you'd likely expect to use it, etc. Okay. This is a BB852. There are a series of BB852s with different applications, meaning full surface. You're going to have full mortise. You're going to have half mortise, just like you would in other hinge types, where you'll have different ways in which the hinge has been built or manufactured to account for the application. And that specifically refers to the swag on the hinge leaf. When you bend the leaf in relationship to the barrel of the hinge, it basically gives it its identity, its genetic code. This happens to be a hinge that does not have any bend or swag on the hinge leaves at all, which would render this a full surface hinge. You can always tell the difference between full surface and full mortise. When you lay it on your desktop, a full surface hinge will lay flat. A full mortise hinge will not lay flat. So this is what they call application B. That means that it's full surface. There are two full surface hinges that they have. The only difference is one has holes and the other doesn't have holes. Why would you want a hinge without holes? Because you're going to weld it, is the bottom line. If we've got a hinge that has holes in it and they want to weld it, I would generally tell someone to drill a hole into the base material and then plug weld that and grind and sand all that smooth. This hinge should be 5-inch tall, which it is. It should be 6-inch wide, which it is. Okay. Great prime coat, completely non-serviceable barrel. There's no way to affect any change on any of this, and basically what you see is what you get. A big giant hinge. What you'll notice though is that it's stamped best. Dormakaba now, I don't know all the facts and figures, but in this day, in 2022, Dormakaba now owns Stanley, Best, Stanley Hardware, Best Lock, Stanley Hinge, Best Lock Precision. And what they did was apparently they licensed the use of the Stanley name for 2 years, and that period of time has elapsed. So I'm calling it a Stanley hinge. It'll probably always be a Stanley hinge for me, but it is technically going to be stamped Best, and that is Best Lock, a name you might be familiar with. This is going to include massive screws. I don't know the thread type. I'm going to guess that they're 3/8 16 would be my guess. A very large flathead screw. It looks like a typical 5/16 in term 18 threads per inch is what it looks like. Flathead slotted screws. Okay. And if you want to do a welded version of this, it's a BB852, but it's an application A is what it is. Now, what would you use this for? Let's talk about that now. If you've not hit subscribe yet, we would very much appreciate if you did, and hopefully you're enjoying this video. Now, let's get back to it. Now, most certainly where you're going to use this is where it's intended to be used. Detention applications, detention or prison applications. This hinge, the BB852, is capable of carrying 2,000 pounds worth of door, and that's the application that you're going to see that. However, we don't get called very often from the detention industry because there are specialty manufacturers of hardware for much of that material. If someone is going to buy this from us, they're not hanging a prison door, in my experience. If they're buying it from us, there is some epic size structure that they're looking to hang. A gate, a welded iron gate that could be extremely wide, very heavy, and is used for a driveway, parking application. Generally applications where you're hanging a very obscene size door and you need a hinge that can carry the weight. So that parking gate sort of application is what I end up seeing this hinge used for when it comes to someone buying it from us. And we endeavor to keep some of these unusual hinges on the shelf so that they're, you know, otherwise a small quantity of them would be available, because it just seems when you're doing a project that has one massive door on it, all of that door is fretted over, measured, remeasured, made magnificently, and no one has stopped to think about the hinges have a lead time. So we end up putting a small amount of it on the shelf. So according to the manufacturer's catalog, steel with a welded pin, phosphated and prime coated for painting. These can also be used for lead line doors to x-ray rooms, or just extremely heavy doors and gates. I don't know that this would be appropriate for a lead line door, because you're going to be piercing through that with a screw. You'd have to give that, your door would have to have consideration for continuity of lead protection. For hinged cell front doors and grated steel doors of penitentiaries, jails, reformatories, made of triple weight steel, capable of carrying 2,000 pounds. Each of the 2 concealed hardened steel races contain 16 3/16 hardened and ground steel balls, which are assembled within the jacket. We'll show you that in the catalog in a moment. The leaf thickness, 0.386, so it's 3/8 of an inch thick is what the leaf is. That's an awfully thick leaf for a hinge. Provision has been made in the barrel of the hinge for forced lubrication if further lubrication is necessary. I would say that would be these access holes that are here. Typically made, not swagged, no holes. So the common hinge, they're saying, is a full surface, no hole version, and then a full surface application C. Application A and application C, they're saying, are the most common applications, which would tell me in my experience that we should, if stock anything like this, stock the uncommon applications. So let's switch to the screen view and let's look at all of the supporting information. If you've not hit subscribe yet, we would very much appreciate if you did, and hopefully you're enjoying this video. Now, let's get back to it. Let's start this video off by taking a look at the product catalog, the BB852. I've literally just reviewed with you all of the details here. Rolled knuckles are welded and machined. Pin is solid one-piece steel, welded at both ends, making removal of the pin impossible. 2 concealed bearing assemblies, hardened raceways, hardened balls, ground smooth. You know, when that door is hanging and all that weight is moving off the side, that's where those ball bearings come into play. Typical applications of the BB852 are here. We're doing an application B. As you study the rest of this, you'll see the different applications. Earlier they said the application A and the C are the most common for what apparently Stanley sees. Application B, sizes are here, full surface. This would be a good guide as well to use. They're not giving us a dimension for this margin. I don't see that is necessarily one that has to be fretted over too much. I would think that your standard margin between, you know, obviously they're showing channel iron here, whatever your standard margin would be within the realm of what the hinge can certainly handle. Your full mortise applications and your half mortise applications. So BB852, 5-inch tall, 6-inch wide, 3/8 thick, 3/4 inch solid steel pin. There are 2 in a box. These are priced and sold per hinge, not per pair or per box of 50 or anything like that. Per hinge. Let's take a look at some photographs that we have of this hinge. Welded, leaves to the knuckle. That's a hallmark of a hinge that's going to carry a lot of weight. A little close-up view of the countersinking, and then again showing that full surface nature of the hinge, and then as if that door was open to 180 degrees. Interesting. Let me tell you what that dimension is between the hinge leaves, between here. It's about 7/8 of an inch. There you go. And then a photograph of the backside. And then our screw package. Okay. There's also a link to cut sheet, which is just that one page. So there's product catalog, which is the entire detention hardware catalog from Stanley, and then the cut sheet, and then the technical drawing. This is a technical drawing, I think, for an application G. Yeah, it is. It's not an application B. By the time you're seeing this video, hopefully there will be a technical drawing for the application B uploaded to here. Okay. And that's what that is. Okay, there is a, let's see here now. There's a link, as seen here, to the manufacturer's page where you can pull up not only all of the Stanley products we sell by means of this horizontal navigation, but also a link to the manufacturer's website, as well as several catalogs, encyclopedic documents. The one that I refer to all the time is this version from 2010, because it's most like the catalog that I'm accustomed to from the 1990s, quite honestly. I like this version of the catalog because it is an encyclopedic approach when it comes to hinges. When you scroll through the first couple of dozen pages, they're basically, Stanley is, and they're not the only company who has a catalog that has a tremendous amount of encyclopedic information, but they do a great job with general hinge information. If you're an architect, a consultant, a specifier, a general contractor, a subcontractor, a distributor, someone new in the industry, an owner, everyone would benefit by understanding hinge terminology if you ever deal with hinges at all. And this is a great resource for that. The definitions of what full surface, half surface, what swing clear hinges are, what anchor hinges are, a usage guide in terms of weight, the way to calculate the width of a hinge, recommended guidelines, and features that would come on a hinge for, let's say, decorative ball tips or decorative tips, or security features as well, finishes that are available, etc., etc. So it's a reference that I used to go to quite often, and after a while you just retain the knowledge. Raised barrel hinges, wide throw hinges, definitions of hinge swagging, as we had mentioned earlier, etc., etc. Great catalog for looking into stuff. And of course the BB852 series is in here as well. It's also on our chart, our hinge weight chart that kicks you out to 2,000 pounds. That hinge. Let's wrap up this video on camera. If you've not hit subscribe yet, we would very much appreciate if you did, and hopefully you're enjoying this video. Now, let's get back to it. Well, we certainly do endeavor to keep a small quantity of different types of unusual hinges in stock. And the reason is because, like I had said earlier, people realize at the last minute, I've got a 1,000-pound door I have to hang, and I have to do it now. So we do attempt to keep that material on hand in small quantities, whether it be a triple weight hinge like this, or it be a pivot that can handle 3,000 pounds, or it be Harmon style hinges, or it be just more typical butt hinges, but those that are 8x8 or 8x6 or 6x5 heavyweight, and unusual hanging methods. Hardware for atypical hanging methods, we try to keep a small quantity of that available because we find that there's a demand for it. I'm very partial to Stanley, and it's because of a multitude of things. Excellent fit and finish. When you take that hinge out of the box, it's just the cleanest, prettiest, best looking hinge, in my opinion, according to me, compared to all other manufacturers. I'm partial to them for that. There is a lead time. This material is mostly made in Asia, as far as I know, so plan ahead. If this hinge is not on the shelf, it's definitely going to be a 6-week lead time, that sort of situation. So plan ahead. And I can tell you this, the Stanley product is always well worth the wait. Any questions on the BB852 application B or any other Stanley product, please feel free to reach out to us. Thank you. Thank you for watching, and if you've enjoyed this video, please click thumbs up, please subscribe, and maybe even send the video to someone that you know. Thank you.